over the years, I slowly started to realize, oh, I am actually an entrepreneur. Like, this is a business. And so when I realized that, I started getting really obsessed about how to create multiple income streams. Sexworks CEO, baby.
Welcome back to On the Horizon. This is Melrose Michaels. I am your host, and I'm here to share what's worked for me in building my adult creator business to try to make building yours just a little bit easier. Let's get into today's episode. Today's guest isn't just a veteran in the adult industry. She is the industry, and in so many ways, from pioneering the early days of webcam modeling in the 90s to launching femdom events and writing award-winning ebooks, turning a talent agency into a success, and also coaching creators one-on-one. Goddess Lilith is literally what happens when art and power and strategy all collide. She's a jet-setting dominatrix, a certified life coach, an entrepreneur, and a walking masterclass on how to build a career that actually lasts in this space. So whether you are a new creator or you are just trying to find your voice, or a seasoned pro looking to scale, you are about to get into the mindset, the mistakes, and the magic behind 25 years of domination in every sense of the word. This one is not just going to be spicy. I think it's going to be truly strategic. Welcome, Goddess Lilith. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I just want to say how excited I am to be here. It's an honor. I'm a huge fan of yours and the work that you do, and this is going to be an amazing chat. So I'm very excited. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We've been kind of crossing paths recently, I would say the last couple of years, especially just at conferences and things like that. But I feel like I've never gotten the privilege of having a deep conversation with you. So I'm super honored that it's in this format because I think it'll be worth recording and listening to. So
Yes.
this actually works out,
Absolutely.
So you have built kind of this legacy across platforms and kinks and business models. And I know as an entrepreneur myself that it all starts kind of from somewhere, someplace. So you had mentioned that you began webcam and kind of foot modeling. I wanted to get more of your background about just how you ended up where you are, like what your starting point looked like, and what do you remember about that first chapter? Like what pulled you into this work?
Yeah, so I've always been an entertainer in some form or another, and I've just always sort of loved being in the spotlight. And I started when I was in high school, started my first band. I was already doing performances with the band that I had put together myself and realized that I loved performing. I loved the attention. I loved the creativity. And I just sort of started pursuing a path through performing. And I guess that you could sort of say that one of my original kinks is exhibitionism because I just really love being in the spotlight. I'm very comfortable there. I'm comfortable on a stage, and I feel like, the energy that I bring anywhere is sort of like a performance. So when I was about 17 and the internet was still a baby and webcams were kind of a new thing, I somehow came across this article about a couple of different early webcam models who were doing these sort of live 24/7 cam feeds set up in their houses. These were just sort of like passive voyeur cams. And this was like a very, very unique thing at the time. Like these couple of ladies were pioneers. Nobody was really doing it yet. So this was also way before the times of streaming, and the images, they were just static images that rotated a few times a minute. And I was just instantly drawn to this right away as not only a form of artistic expression, but also sort of an avenue for my exhibitionism. And it was not long at all before I had multiple webcams set up all over my house. I had like a nerdy little tech boy that helped me set them up and have my own little server to host them on. And I had one of the very first live 24/7 cam houses. So that was like one of the most fun and exciting times of my life, just sort of inviting the world into my life like that and just feeling somehow so liberated by that. And, I was even comfortable sleeping on camera all the time. Like it was interesting because I feel like for a lot of people having sort of that type of almost like an invasion of privacy might be a complete nightmare. But for me, I loved it. I loved living my life 24/7 in the spotlight. So it all really kind of started from there with the industry work, and everything else just kind of fell into place after that. Being a goth kid and going to the goth clubs all the time, I pretty quickly discovered the kink scene once I was, old enough to go to the clubs. And it wasn't long before I just started getting offered kinky content shoots and including foot modeling, femdom stuff, and even some go-go dancing at the clubs. So I just jumped in, 2 feet first and didn't look back from there.
I love that. I actually have a background in go-go dancing too, so that I can
Oh,
totally relate with. Yeah.
yes, we need to like attend a festival sometime together.
That would be amazing. I'm like, I have this inner festival kid that's never gotten to come out and play because like I was really grinding those like young 20s years of my life away. Like I also don't do well in big crowds, but like when I see festival content or like girls at festivals, I'm like, part of me is dying to do that. So
Yes.
I'd be so down.
Yes, we need
Um,
to like go to some other country together and just like let out that inner go-go dancer.
you gotta be careful, Goddess Lilith, because I am the type that will book a flight before we've agreed on anything.
I
My
mean,
team
me
is listening.
too.
They're gonna be mad.
So, I mean, let's go.
That's so funny.
I would love that.
One of the things that stood out about what you said is that you really love this art form. And I also resonate with like the old school voyeur house webcam situation because I was an early, no, I mean, not early 90s camera, but I was an early camera. And I remember some friends of mine did do voyeur house stuff. And I always thought that was such a unique thing to do to really document your life in an authentic way that way. And I do believe like not just that kind of work in adult, but a lot of the work in adult, it really is art. Like I know when I'm going through something in my personal life, like it does actually get reflected or kind of come out in the art that I create, whether it's the mood of the photos I'm making or the tone of the video, or if I start doing Dom stuff, like I'm probably looking for an outlet a little bit. Like these things do come out. And I do believe it's art form, but a lot of the people I think in the civvy world or elsewhere kind of like gawk at that? Like, what do you say to those people that don't consider what we do in art?
I think that people who don't see it as an art form are probably not very artistic themselves. When you think about the types of people that consume mainstream forms of art, like music or movies, TV shows, whatever it is, they're consumers. Like, maybe I feel like the majority of consumers, their brains just kind of function a little bit differently. Maybe they're the type of person that's like like a lawyer or like the CEO of some kind of like, publishing office or something like that, or, school teacher, whatever it may be. But I think it's pretty well known that if you are sort of a more like a mathematically inclined type of mind, you're going to be less creative. Like some people excel at things like writing or playing music or creating visual things. And other people are good at sort of logistical things or planning, or scientific minded. And I think that it's a little bit difficult for people who are just not creatively inclined themselves to see this type of work as professional, especially, I hate to say it, when it starts getting spicier. It's as if the fact that it becomes more sexy, it somehow negates the fact that it's creative.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it also comes to me like I think a lot about sales just because I come from like a sales and marketing background in my mainstream life before I got into this work. But in sales, we have this phrase that if you are a salesperson, you're also the easiest person to sell. And I think like when we think about creativity, if you're a creative person, it's easy to see art everywhere, to your point. But if that's not like your kind of frame of mind, it might be harder to see the world that way.
Yeah, so I think what I would say to criticizers or people that don't consider what we do art, like maybe try to think with a little bit more of an open mind and look at the type of energy that it really takes to create good content. time after time. There's a lot of planning that goes into the content that we make, even if we make it look effortless.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is a nice segue too, because something that's unique about you and also myself, not I mean, you've been around for a lot more longevity of a career than even I have, but you've been able to stay in it. And I think that because so many creators, especially I think younger creators coming into the space for the first time who are kind of green, they burn out really fast. And this is like a common pain point that creators are constantly talking about in our, close community with CEO Society or even just our social channels, but you've been able to kind of shift and scale and stay relevant for all these years. So I'm wondering what's kind of been this through line that's kept you anchored when this industry is constantly changing. Because I think every creator wants some silver bullet to like this thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, I've always been a really driven person and a little bit stubborn too, which I think is important because I don't like to give up on things. So once I start going in on something, like I'm in it to win it. Like go big or go home has always been my motto. And so I think if you're jumping in, you need to understand that this is not going to be some overnight sensation that happens. You need to consistently show up. You need to realize that this is sort of it's a slow burn. And so just going in with that type of mindset from the beginning is where a lot of people can start off stronger than others because, I'm sure we'll get a little more into this later, but a lot of people think it's super easy to just do what we do. And it's just like, the thing I hear a lot of is like, "Ah, I'm so tired of my job. I'm just going to like quit my office job and sell feet pics."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just, sorry folks, it's just not like that. So just knowing that, going in with that mindset to begin with, or even just reminding yourself that that's how it is on tough days and things like that. We all have our ups and downs. The world has its ups and downs. You gotta sort of practice resilience. That was a term that I learned when I was studying psychology at Harvard. Resiliency is basically how quickly you bounce back from times of struggle or change. So really developing that muscle, working on that within yourself is going to help too. But, for me, again, performance has just always been a form of artistic expression for me. And the thread that sort of kept me interested in this space all this time is that I genuinely love and like just truly enjoy creating content, performing, and being in the kinky lifestyle in the space. This is the base of it for me, just being passionate about what I do. And on top of that, I've always been sort of a curious person and I like to explore new technology. So it's been easy to stay interested over the years in being a content creator because, we all know the porn space has some of the best tech and you bring some of the coolest things before anyone else is doing it. So there's always something new on the horizon and, obviously that there's an important balance that you need to strike there with what exactly you're going to look into and give your time to. But that's sort of a separate topic in itself too. But at the heart of it all, I'm an entertainer through and through. So that's really been what's kept me going. And as the years have gone on and I've kind of evolved myself a little bit, I've realized that I also love teaching, educating, and just generally helping others as well. So that's another, that's added another layer to my motivation.
Yeah, see, you said so many great things there, and I could go a million ways with this conversation. I think we'll have to have you on a couple more times because there's so much to cover that is so useful. But one of the things that you mentioned is like the people that come into our space and that dabble or that, make those offhanded comments that it's so easy, I should just do this. They really, I think, underestimate or don't understand the entrepreneurship that goes into the work that we do, like genuinely. And you also mentioned in almost the same breath that there's a lot of places you can go in our space and you have to make those decisions and filter out all those opportunities too. And I'm going like kind of off script of the things I necessarily want to dig too deep into, but when when you're doing so many things, because you sound very much a person like myself and my team, I know they're listening to this, that I'm really like, yes, please give Mel practical advice. But how do you filter out opportunities to say no to things? Because I think it's every entrepreneur's DNA to want to say yes to as many things as possible because we are curious and we want to explore and see what we can build. But saying no is really the superpower too.
Yes, it really is. And yes, please have me back again. Like, I would love to spend more time with you. So just, anytime like you want to do this again, I am super down. Yes, please. But yeah, so saying no is definitely another muscle that you have to build. And the only way to do that is to practice doing it. That's something that up until more recent years in my life, I struggled with too. I think, for whatever reason, creators have an especially hard time with saying no because everything's exciting. A lot of us have ADHD or we're neurospicy and, we're like, ooh, shiny. But it's so important to realize that if you just sort of go after everything, you're going to burn out really fast. You cannot actually say yes to everything. It's actually impossible because there are infinite possibilities and you have to narrow down what you truly want to spend time on. So if you see something that piques your interest, dip your toes in a little bit and see if it really grabs you. Like what I did with the camming stuff in the beginning. I knew as soon as I started doing that. I knew before like I even started doing it that I was going to love it. And I was so enthusiastic about it from the moment I did it. And I knew that was something that I wanted to go full speed ahead with. If something is not giving you a feeling like that, then it may not actually be worth your time. Now, of course, when you start thinking about the financial aspect, though, maybe there are some things that you might not necessarily be overjoyed about all the time, but they're going to bring you a lot of cash. Like, for example, I'm not the biggest fan of OnlyFans myself, especially that particular platform. And it's ironic because now it has become such a huge avenue of revenue for me by managing other creators on the platform. But I myself don't actually love that platform a whole lot. So before I started doing account management for others, I actually started delegating assistants to help me manage my account because it was not something that brought me an incredible amount of joy, but it was very important for my bottom line. So if you have things like that are really important for your business, but they're not bringing you the joy that you want them to, don't be afraid to delegate. And trust me, it is worth it. It took me a long time to really justify delegation, and I thought that I couldn't afford it or maybe it wouldn't be worth the money. But trust me, if you're in this for the long haul, it's essential. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir with you, Melrose, because you've got such a great team that you've built up, and it's not easy to do that, but it is important, it is helpful. But going back to the original question, my honest advice, practice like just saying no with small things. You can even have your friends help you with that. How do some sort of like role play scenarios, a little script or whatever. Just practice saying no so that it becomes more of a reflex that's embedded in you. And now, I'm a person who loves to do everything I possibly can. I have pushed my physical body into insane realms to do all of the things. When I was younger and in college, I used to regularly attend 2 to 3 to 4 parties every single weekend. So like my maximum number of parties that I hit with somebody was like 5 in one night. It was like it started in the afternoon and it went until like 7 or 8 a.m. So like, you know, you can only kind of like stretch yourself thin like that for so long. And it's definitely easier when you're younger. And then as you start to get older, you need to conserve your energy and just you a little bit better. You need to be protective of your time and energy. So that's another thing to keep in mind and to remember and to tell yourself, like, is this protecting my energy right now? Like, 'cause no one's going to do it for you unless maybe like, you happen to be in the kinky lifestyle and you have a dom in your life that helps keep you on track. No one's going to help you do that. So you have to just remember that saying no is a form of protecting yourself sometimes.
If you're enjoying this podcast episode so far, please take one moment to share it with another one of your adult content creator friends, because you know what the rule is here. We do not gatekeep, and we want to make as many adult creators' businesses as easy as possible. And you sharing this episode with them might do exactly that. Thanks so much in advance. I want to also get into the kind of the adaptability that your career has shown because to your point about like OnlyFans isn't the perfect platform by any means, and most of us wish we weren't there, but it is important to the bottom line. And I think making those kind of business decisions and understanding the differences of like, this I really enjoy, this I want to keep core to the business that I'm building. And then these other things are kind of like overhead. They're like the necessary things that I must do to make this actually work and go the stretch, go to the distance. But you've done stuff diversification wise, like founding your own talent agency and producing kink events. So I'm wondering what made you kind of consider the shift from just performer to entrepreneur. And was there a time where you knew it was time to make that shift? Because a lot of the creators that follow and listen to our stuff, they're creators and performers currently, or creators, performers first, which I would consider myself as well. But there's also like a key moment where I was like, I can't just be a creator anymore. Like I
Mhm.
can't just be a performer. Did you have something like that?
Yeah, sort of. I think that like a lot of people, when I first jumped into doing what I do, I wasn't necessarily looking at it as a business. I wasn't treating it like a career. It was something fun that I wanted to do, and oh, cool, look, I'm making a bunch of money while I'm doing it. And over the years, I slowly started to realize, oh, I am actually an entrepreneur. Like this is a business. And then I started just realizing that successful entrepreneurs and business owners have multiple income streams. And so when I realized that, I started getting really obsessed about how to create multiple income streams, as many semi-passive ones as possible as well, because as you know, content creation is can be very exhausting. It takes a lot of energy out of you, just that creative energy that even goes into planning the shoots before you even step on camera or do your makeup or do the shopping you need to do to acquire the items that you need for the set. It's sometimes exhausting just coming up with the scripts or the ideas or the logistical planning that needs to happen. So for me, the semi-passive income streams were pretty much a no-brainer. And so I started kind of dabbling in those a little bit, started playing around with on my YouTube channel, got into affiliate marketing and referring other creators also to platforms, which is something that I feel like not enough creators talk about or encourage newer creators to do. And it's a legitimate extra source of income to do affiliate marketing. And what a lot of people don't realize is that by referring other creators, that is pretty much the same as being in affiliate marketing. You get a referral code, you get some commission on it. And I think some people don't even bother trying because they're like, oh, no one's going to sign up with my link. I'm nobody, whatever. Like, don't think like that, because you never know which person or friend you're going to refer, or even a total stranger sometimes that could just find your link on your website or something, that's going to go off and do something big, and you start getting a pretty nice sweet little couple $100 a month for doing that. It's super important. So I definitely want to like highlight looking into that if that's something you haven't done with your career yet. It's one of the things that I first started doing because which site was I on that I first started doing? It was StreamMate. StreamMates always have their model referral, commission offering that's basically an affiliate link. And I essentially used that. I started referring models, but more importantly, I was referring my own customers. So I just put the link on my site, and it's like, all right, if people are going to hit my website anyway, and this traffic is coming in, I might as well try to convert some of it into some extra money. So back in the early days, there were all these really good sort of free traffic lists for webcams. So I was getting a lot of traffic back then. I was getting like 1,500 hits a day for my webcam site, which is, honestly, like it's kind of even better than I'm doing right now. There was some pretty good traffic back then that was pretty easy to acquire for free. So I started making revenue like that, and it's great because there's one or two people that became lifers. These customers, they're still on StreamMate after all of these years. So, just put the links out there, and you never know who's gonna click them. But anyway, let's pull back from the rabbit hole on that one a little bit. But yeah, I just I guess I realized that. that I wanted to get into event production and sort of managing people because first of all, I like it. I love planning stuff. Like I'm a very like sort of alpha personality and I love logistical planning. I don't know why. It's just one of my kinks, I guess. Like I love doing logistics. I'm like, let's start doing events and I've got Italian heritage, so I love hosting parties and watching everybody have a really good time and I love people having fun at my events and I love to help people network and meet their, like their person or meet this like ideal collab partner or something like that. It really does just fill my cup. So I started with little events and they started getting successful and became bigger and bigger. And that eventually led me to doing my most recent major event project, and that's the Femdom Awards. And it's just so fulfilling. It's truly exhausting, and sometimes I feel like I'm getting pulled in 8 million directions at once, even with several assistants on my team. But I'm always happy that I do it. And, I love helping people. I have a lot of wisdom to share, and, I've been told that I'm really good at teaching. So I love helping guide people. I love coaching people. It really brings me a lot of joy. So these are things that sort of they just ideas that I started brainstorming. I'm like, all right, what can I do to monetize some more of my passions, because I'm already monetizing both my lifestyle and the performance aspect of me. So like, what else can I do here? So yeah, it was kind of gradual. There was no really like aha moment, but I would say, if you guys out there are looking for your own aha moment, just realize that you are an entrepreneur. You are the CEO of your own business. And that is exactly why we're here. Sexworks CEO, baby.
I love that. I love too that you actually did go into the affiliate marketing and StreamMate thing because I know several models. So I've never been a StreamMate performer or cam model, even though my longest part of my career was in cams. Just because when I was looking for a campsite, like I was going off payout percentages, and MFC was the one that had the 50%, and I knew girls that were on it that were doing well, so it just seemed like a better fit because the time when I looked at StreamMate, it was 35% to start or something like that, and I was like, oh, that's not going to be enough, but all the creators I know that went to StreamMate and that launched with their like cam model affiliate program, you actually end up getting way more, like between 80 and 90% of your revenue because everyone's using your affiliate links. And I know models who have retired streaming on cam who still pull thousands of dollars a month off of the fans that they drove or the models that they drove through those links. It's fantastic. It
Yep.
really is. It's a great program.
Yep.
Great program.
Highly
Um,
recommend.
yeah. Now, because you're kind of on this other side too, as an agency owner, dungeon runner, awards founder, and I'm wondering if there's something that you wish more creators kind of knew before stepping into business or management roles. Like,
Mhm.
what are the red flags or the green lights, you kind of look for when building partnerships? Because that can be really scary.
Yes. So I would say the number one thing, sort of like heads up that I would give, that I always give when people ask me what it's really like to do this, is just know that you are going to be doing a lot of cat herding, especially if you're doing something like, talent management or event production. I mean, you're dealing with performers and different types of models and talent and stuff. And not everybody is going to be super organized or be able to stick to a schedule. One of the nice things about being a model or a creator is just sort of having flexibility in your life. And I think that's what attracts a lot of us to it. But that sort of also lends itself to maybe being a little less strict about things like schedules and, hey, call time is at this time, or, oh, you didn't double check your calendar there and now you're double booked kind of thing. So you have to have a lot of patience and realize that these things are going to be prevalent. And it's super important to always have backup options. Have your plan B, have your plan C, have a list of those people that are going to be reliable and show up beyond all shadow of doubt. Or, and also have that list of people that are great to work with or provide great content or whatever, but maybe aren't super consistent, so that if you need a plan B or a plan C. And,
Yeah.
as far as red flags and green flags, I feel like it's pretty easy to tell right away some of the red flags. Just take a look at their timeline. What kind of stuff are they posting on their timeline? Are they going online and like drunkenly ranting about things, or starting fights with other people, or maybe just not being super consistent, or the quality of their content is not always consistent. And if that stuff looks okay, but then you maybe chat with them and you get the feeling that maybe they're a little scatterbrained, or they might even just straight up admit to you that, oh, I don't think I'm really good at this thing or whatever. I have learned over the years that when people tell you that they are or aren't a certain way, listen to them. Don't just be like, oh, well, I see a lot of potential in this person, because, like you can't really necessarily always work with someone's potential. I mean, I work with a lot of talent, and that's part of my job, is to help that potential bloom and help, build them into something. But I will tell you right now, 90 to 95% of the new talent that I work with do not really get to that blooming point. And for, the person sort of trying to help them develop themselves, it's completely exhausting. It's not super rewarding most of the time. There's going to be that 5% or whatever that do blossom, and you see them becoming this amazing like entity, and you're super proud of them. You see them following the advice that you're giving them, and that's kind of really what it's about. Like, that's what keeps you in it, but it's so infrequent. It's really kind of heartbreaking sometimes. I've had these types of discussions with my primary business partner numerous times over the years, and sometimes we just look at each other and say, why are we still doing this? Like, we're putting our heart and soul into this, and most people just they don't even care. It's there's a saying, don't cast your pearls among swine, which basically means, essentially, don't be giving your energy to people who don't value it, don't cherish it, or maybe it falls on deaf ears, because there's only so much of that you can give out. It's precious, right? But at the end of the day, there's there's still something rewarding about it. Or maybe I'm just a masochist sometimes, and like I said earlier, I'm stubborn, and I don't like to give up on things. I built my talent agency business 5 years ago now during the pandemic, which was a really difficult time for a lot of people. But I'm a fighter, and I saw my revenue streams going down elsewhere, and I decided to create a new one, and the business blossomed during that time. And it's been very up and down, like anything else. It hasn't been a steady stream always, and it can fluctuate just like everything else. But end of the day, you just same with the content creation. You remember why you're doing it. You think about those moments where you are grateful to have touched somebody else's life like that, and just remember that it's not always going to be easy to do that.
Absolutely. That's really well said. And I like that you kind of touched on this part about how exhausting it can be, because I think whenever you're kind of really involved with a large group of people or community driven, like it takes a lot of emotional labor too, especially when you're public facing. So I'm wondering also, like, how do you balance the performance and then the reality of your own boundaries as an entrepreneur? Like, because those things can get crossed, especially with talent, because you really care about the people that you're bringing on.
hmm Yeah, so for me, it was really challenging for probably, I would say, the first decade or so in my own with my own brand and my own business, because for me, when I got started, there was no really separation between me and what I presented in the public. I've never really been, some performers like to sort of create a persona or a character that they get into, which I think is really helpful. And honestly, if I could go back and start again, I may do something more like that to help keep a degree of separation there. But for me, it was always just me. Hey, oh, I'm on camera now. Like, I'm in front of a live audience now. Cool. Like, I'm gonna go about my day and do stuff now, or I'm gonna talk to you just like I would have a normal conversation, with anybody. So it took me a while to realize how important it is to separate yourself a little bit, keep your energy protected. And that can be as simple as sort of like, I have this little like LED light that I put on my computer sometimes when I'm streaming, and I turn it on, and that just serves as a reminder to be like, hey, you're on right now. When I'm sitting at my computer and I'm not streaming, for example, like I'm not on, so I don't have to necessarily be in that energy. Because I think when you're working at your computer a lot and you're editing your own content and you're going live and stuff like that, it's sort of just easy to fall back into that mindset that you're sort of on. But preserving your energy at times when you're not on is super crucial. The internet does not need to know everything. Keep some things for yourself, for your safety, but also your mental well-being. And yeah, just it's so essential to make quiet time for yourself too. Like, I think you and I are both workaholics and we love what we do.
Yes.
So it's in our nature. That's an important thing to notice too. Like for anyone who's trying to be in this space and is it, aspiring entrepreneur, like not everyone is built that way. Not everyone is built for it. We are genuinely like, we love throwing ourselves into work. We love problem solving. Like we love just diving in, but not everyone is that way, and that's okay. Like, if it's not for you, like that doesn't mean you're a failure or anything like that. But it does take that kind of tenacity to be successful here. But the other side of that coin is when you're a workaholic, it's literally impossible to turn off your brain sometimes. Like, people sometimes ask me what I like to do for fun. You know what I like to do for fun, Melrose? That is that I like to in my quote unquote downtime, what I like to do is cram my brain full of educational material on YouTube. That's
Oh, yeah, we're the same. We're the same. I bet you we carry the same YouTube subscriptions.
probably, yeah, we should totally compare sometime. Like that's downtime for me. I'm like, cool, I'm still feeding my brain here. I'm still learning something. Very rarely do I actually just watch, just throwaway programming or anything like that. Like I don't even really watch TV. I just, I have my YouTube subscription, and which was fan funded to me, which is pretty awesome because somebody knew how much that meant to me, like watching all this instructional content. So shout outs to the person who's listening who got that for me. Thank you. But yeah, and, your channel is in there too. I've definitely digested a whole bunch of your content as well. And that's why I'm such a big fan of you. But
I love that. I
yeah,
love that.
it's like, figure out what relaxing looks like for you. And on that note too, although I work really hard, I also play really hard. A lot of people don't take vacations and things like that because they think that there needs to be some kind of big event to happen for them to take a vacation and really unplug. No, don't do that. Like once a month I try to go off the grid for a day or two, maybe go up to the mountains, go on a hike, whatever. And when I go on vacation, like I go pretty hard. I mean, it's often looks more like a work vacation, like a workcation at the beginning, because of course, like, I do need to make sure I raise the funds for that. Traveling is really expensive. So of course I'm going to be making my content, doing my collabs, maybe setting up some interviews for like my own upcoming podcast, making sure that I'm getting some work done, of course, but then I build in a bunch of days for relaxation. Like for example, I'm going to Bucharest Summit next month, which I'm super excited about. Are you going to that, by the way?
I don't think I'm going to go to this year because I went last year and I mean, it's great and it's a great show, but it's mostly cams and I'm not in cams as much right now. I
Yeah.
am looking to get back, but I think I'm going to skip this one and hit up the round of September shows that happen, like the TES conference,
Okay.
which I would love to talk to you more about too. I think you could benefit greatly there.
Yes, awesome. But yeah, so for example, I'm going up to Bucharest for that, and I'm building in an extra like 5 days to just relax afterwards. Like I love going to the spa and having a full-blown spa day. I like eating really good food and just indulging. I'm gonna hop on the train and go see the countryside, and during those times, like I'm not gonna be available. Like you get to talk to one of my assistants, and I usually give my fans a heads up that I might be unavailable for a little while, but I planned my content updates so that they don't have to go without content while I'm gone. So it's important to just remember or find out the things that feed you, and that's how you can sort of help keep some separation between you and your work and you and your persona.
Yeah, I love that you kind of got us into this topic a little bit because I do think there's such a hustle culture that we're kind of recovering from in this era of time anyways. And even like myself, like I don't really subscribe, and people hate when I say this, but I don't really subscribe to the idea of work-life balance. Like I think that's so different for anyone
Mhm.
or for
Oh
everyone.
yeah.
And I think we all picture that differently. Like if I had to work a tremendous amount less than I do, I would be really unhappy. Like I really would.
Same.
Because like yeah, like you're driven a lot by that sense of achievement. That's just kind of my personality and probably my trauma, but like I'm living for it.
Mhm.
It's great.
Oh, great.
But like at the same time, to your point, like it was very recently I had a huge breakdown, not necessarily burnout, but just under a lot of pressure from a lot of different angles. And I was crying to my husband about all of the work and like the pressure I'm feeling and everything. And he's like, you have to remember that you're built for this. Like
Mhm.
you couldn't do it any other way. Like you take this on because you like to come out on the other side of moments like these and be like, oh my God, I did that.
Mhm.
And like having someone else be able to tell you that as a support system was really important. And I think that's something that a lot of creators should benefit from. And also to your point about taking the breaks, because that's something I really haven't done. And that's something I'm only in very recent like months starting to like kind of prioritize, because I know like even when I'm down and out or I feel like everything's kind of falling apart, like a weekend with my buddy, I come back and I have a new
Yeah.
perspective and I have the energy to take it
You're
on, and it's
ready.
just a different person. Yeah,
Mhm.
totally. Totally.
Yeah. Taking that step back to get out of your office, even get out of your environment. Like, if, working from home, like it takes a lot of self-discipline to do that. Everyone thinks it's super easy. Like, this is what I tell all of my streamers who are first starting under my streaming agency. You know, it's actually a lot harder to work for yourself and to work from home because you don't
Yeah.
have that boss breathing down your neck. You don't have that person that's going to fire you if you show up 20 minutes late. That person is you. And you have to be that for yourself. And if you like to sleep in every day, or, you're not very good at following a schedule and keeping yourself motivated, this line of work simply is just not for you. You're not built for it. So I'm glad that you mentioned that phrase specifically, because, you either have to be built for it, or maybe it's not for you, or, the third option that we have now is you work with a manager or a talent developer or an agent, someone like myself,
Yeah.
that's going to like check in on you all the time. That's going to give you assignments, that's going to make you do the work. I just recently hired a content manager for me because I've got way too many. I think I've got, I don't know, 12 or 13 different accounts at this point for different things, and I'm like, okay, I'm losing track of what I need to do for each one. I need someone else's brain power to just come up with a basic list for what I need to do with each one and then make me do it. Be like, hey, here's the list of scenes that you need to shoot this week, or these are the social posts that need to happen this week. Like, here's your list. Now do it. You know, so I think it's really important to realize if you aren't built for it, this is maybe either not for you or you need someone to help you. And that someone doesn't have to be a content manager necessarily or a talent agent. That person can be like one of your buddies. Use the buddy system. Keep yourself accountable, or it can be your partner. If they don't mind, of course. Now, if it's your partner, you have to be careful with that because, with my own partners in the past, they've always been involved in my business in some way. But that can get sticky because it can sort of cross boundaries within your relationship, and it can start eating up your
Yeah.
relationship. So of course you have to do that in moderation as well, and communication is key always for stuff like that. But there are options. So if you truly want to do this and you know that you have trouble staying on track on your own, ask for help. Use some productivity apps, like, figure out the areas in which you need help and motivation, and try that.
100%. I want to say three things that kind of are relevant, and you're giving me such a shameless plug, so I'm going to have to go ahead and take it. But one thing that we have, like inside CEO Society, we do, co-working spaces every day. So like you can pop in and you could body double or like be in the co-working space just chipping away or admin or like scheduling out your pages. Like I think that's really useful because the isolation point is so serious in our industry.
Hmm.
And then the other piece is because you are managing talent, I just want to let you know because I don't talk about this as much because I usually talk direct to creator. But for agencies and stuff with our AI product, GPT's AI, you can actually build out personas for each of the creators you manage.
Ooh,
And so you can script their scenes completely like within the niche that they create in, with the way that they talk and speak naturally. Like it's highly personalizable.
wow.
So that might be something worth looking into for you guys to streamline some of your own processes.
Yes, I'm
Uh,
definitely gonna
so
check
yeah.
that out. Thank you.
Yes, of course. I'll send you a link. And then the other part I wanted to say is like to your point about being disciplined. I think everyone that follows my stuff thinks I am like an insanely disciplined person. I will say over the 13 years, I've gotten incredibly like miles and light years better over time. But I also build out like fail-safe systems that make me disciplined. Like so, for example, I have a huge team now with sex. Well, huge. I have a couple people that depend on me for SWCEO stuff, and like if I'm not doing something, they can't do their job, but I still pay them to do their job.
Hmm.
So like,
Right.
I'm now paying for nothing. Like
Been
I
there.
to do deliver. You
Yeah,
know.
like, oh,
But
sorry, I don't have that photo set ready. I guess you've got the next couple of days off.
yeah, or like even on the Melrose brand side, like I have a video editor that edits my videos every single day. And so my scheduling right now is to film every day, even if it's something simple, like a JOI or whatever. But like I pay them whether I have content for them to edit or not. So that it's this
Mhm.
kind of pressure system where I put these systems in place to force my own discipline. And I think that can be really useful.
Yes.
But also if you aren't in a place to just have the discipline to begin with, it can be very overwhelming because now it's like, well, I'm losing this money and I'm not producing
Right.
content. And, it can get away from you too. So you have to implement where it makes sense. But I do feel like systems are my godsend and I love creating them.
Yes, I think that the losing money system is a really good motivator. I've done that myself. Like when I first hired my very first VA, I had trouble kind of keeping them busy in the beginning because I was just, I had ideas of what I wanted them to do. And then sometimes it wouldn't take that long. And I'm like, oh man, this person's working for 40 hours a week for me. And so I need to start coming up with other tasks for them. And yeah, there were definitely days, especially in the beginning, and still even once in a while now, where I don't hit those marks for whatever reason. Life happens, health happens, travel happens, like back to back to back freaking industry events happen all the time. Like we could go on a whole separate rant about that. But
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, that feeling of like, oh, well, I guess I'm paying now. I'm just sort of like throwing my money out the window now. Like that's a really good motivator to help stay on track. So I think that's also a
Yeah.
really important thing to kind of keep in mind when you're hiring your first assistant, even if they're just part-time. You can have a really good idea of what they're going to do, but just remember that you still have to keep that churn going. You have to give them the stuff. You have to keep communicating with them. You have to send them your ideas or send them your captions, whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say to you, like, you've also been very ahead of the curve on a lot of things. So not just, in business, but also in like visibility. Because I know you've got this YouTube channel, you mentioned a podcast in the works. Like, what drives your desire to kind of teach and share when I do still feel like so many people in the industry try to stay quiet and like
Mhm.
preserve the way they've done things or not share, kind of, I guess, gatekeep a little bit.
Well, honestly, I've always had a lot of people approach me asking for help. I guess I've just always sort of seemed like someone that people could ask for advice or ask for, business ideas or things like that. Like I've noticed for a long time now that people love to just even bounce ideas off of me. They're like, oh, like I'll take you out for lunch or whatever and run this idea by you kind of thing. I'd love to get your thoughts. And especially during the pandemic and post-pandemic now, a lot of folks, especially other women, have asked me how to get into the business for one reason or another. Maybe they want to escape like an abusive situation, or they want to better their lives, or they're inspired by what I do and they want to do it too. And I think it's so important to help other people When I was younger, I was really kind of focused on myself and what I wanted to do, especially sort of in my teen years and my early 20s. You got to remember that the world is so much bigger than you. And it's there are other reasons to sort of look outside your own little bubble. And you gotta give to the world. Sometimes you have to give back to the people around you. Like, I do believe in sort of like karma a little bit and things like that, but I also just believe in doing positive things, because there's not enough positivity in the world. Sometimes there's a lot of negativity in the world we live in, and I think it's so important to put out positivity whenever you can. And that doesn't mean you have to be a content creator or you have to start a YouTube how-to channel or something like that. Even just like helping out people in your own life, like being of service to others, people that you care about. And I really feel for a lot of the folks who have come to me for help, especially some of the women, because I know what it's like to sort of be in not being taken seriously in a world that's frequently dominated by men. And it's not a fun place to be. So if I can help empower other people to be able to find their own sort of inner strength and change their lives and do something they want to do, then I'm going to do that, because I feel that it's important to contribute positively to things outside of yourself as well. And I like to believe that sometimes, that some of that may come back to you, but even if it doesn't, like, it's going to help you residually in other ways anyway. I mean, it's been pretty well documented in in the world of psychology that a lot of people do things to just to sort of get that little dopamine boost that they did something for someone else. Like, for example, like that's sort of the whole like premise of like GoFundMe or Kickstarter or charities or something like that. Maybe you're too busy to do something charitable for somebody, but hey, I just donated like $500 to the MSPCA. Like, I feel good now. So there's a lot of reasons to do it, but it's just, I find it super fulfilling. And from what I am told, I'm very good at what I do. I'm very well spoken. I don't really like to come across as stuck up or full of myself, but pretty much virtually every person that's interviewed me always tells me afterwards like how thrilled that they are that I was so well spoken, I'm so well educated, and that I give such a great interview. And I hear that about my teaching style as well and about my YouTube videos. So I'm like, all right, well, I've gotten a lot of feedback that I am apparently good at this thing. So I'm going to keep doing this thing that I'm apparently good at. And it's benefiting others. And some of the messages that I get, like, they really just brighten my day, because I'm still a person too. Like, I'm not always all like glitter and sunshine and rainbows and handcuffs or whatever, but like, I have my low times too and my dark days, but sometimes getting that message out of the blue, or a really nice little email from a creator that lets me know that I inspired them, and maybe they read my book and now they've launched their own successful business, and they're really happy and stuff like that. Or it just it helps keep me motivated to continue doing what I do, and it cheers me up. It makes me feel good, and it's just it's good vibes.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. You said it really well. I think that you've really built kind of this career on your own terms, and I really admire it. And I'm wondering if you could go back kind of to the beginning of everything and kind of whisper, something to your younger self before maybe she logged on to Cam for the first time or, took her first booking. Like, what would that thing be? Because we get so many new creators that listen to our stuff, and they're always looking for a piece of advice or what we could save them from in terms of heartache or learning curve. What would the one piece of advice you'd give a new creator be?
I would say, remember that, you are starting a business, even if it doesn't seem like it to you and it's something that you're doing for fun. Take it seriously. Get your bookkeeping in order. That's probably one of the top things that
Oh my
I
gosh,
wish
preach.
that I could go back and do again. Get your bookkeeping in order right away. A lot of people don't know that when you're starting a business like this, that there are tax benefits to doing so. You can write off like everything you're using for your business, your makeup, your clothes, your some types of appointments. Like some people, they add their gym membership on there, for example. Whenever you're traveling, some of your meals can be deducted from that. So really, go and educate yourself a little bit. There's a wealth of information online. You don't even have to sit on YouTube for hours. Just throw it into AI now. Just tell it what you want to do and ask it about how to get your books in order. So that's honestly my biggest point of advice right there. Just get your stuff in order before you start jumping in and having fun, and then you can fine tune all of the other nuances from there.
Oh my God, it's such good advice. That's exactly where I went wrong when I started. Like I
Mhm.
just didn't know
It's
anything about
easy.
that. Yeah.
It's easy. And when we started, this information was not readily available. And now it
Exactly.
is. So go out there and take advantage of it. Get it.
Yes, and that's always the advice I give. So like when I started camming, I was getting paper checks in the mail, and I
Same.
thought they were withholding, taxes, but they weren't.
Right. Right. Yeah, like when you go from working for someone else or retail or whatever it might be, you usually get a W-2. That doesn't happen when you work for yourself anymore. It's a completely different form. So, just don't just sort of go into it and assume that you know what's up. Like, be sure about it. And there's so many great resources, so many great groups, including yours. Like, ask people if you'd rather talk to an actual human being. Like, just find a group and join it and introduce yourself and start chatting.
Absolutely. Goddess Lilith, this has been awesome. I'm so grateful that you came on here. Can you plug all your socials and like sites and let everyone know where they can find your stuff?
Yes, thank you so much again for having me. There's a lot for me to plug. I've got a lot going on in the coming year. So my YouTube channel is goddess_Lilith, and my femdom awards is it's on Twitter and Instagram at the Femdom Awards, and that is slated to be in Las Vegas in October later this year. So definitely give that a follow. And if you're interested in being involved or nominated, there's going to be lots of info getting posted on there pretty soon for this coming year. If you want to check out my talent agency, you can follow you can go to ownyourdestiny.org. My info about chatting is not public on there. Right now, it just talks about the streaming stuff, but there's a way that you can contact me on there. It's also on our Twitter, which is at OYD Talent Agency. If you want to check out my band, if you're into heavy metal at all, you can check us out. We're called Sorrow Seed. We're going to be touring for my birthday this year in October, all up and down the West Coast. So just look for Sorrow Seed anywhere. What else? My upcoming podcast, the Own Your Destiny podcast, I'm hoping to launch it probably either this summer or fall. I've got 6 episodes recorded already, and I'm waiting till I have at least 10 to launch it. Melrose, I would be honored if you would consider being a guest on my podcast at some point in time.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Yes. And yeah, I think that's about it. One other project I sort of have in the pipeline, a new one, is on my YouTube channel. I am going to be doing a 12 countries over 12 months documentary. So I'm going to be visiting 12 countries in 12 months and posting all about that too. So I've got a lot of fun and exciting things going on. And you can also just check out goddesslilith.com if you're interested in any of these things. You can get my book there too. And yeah, if you're interested in coaching or mentoring, just hit me up through that site. Or if you join through one of my referral links on like Loyal Fans, for example, you can just message me directly on Loyal Fans. And yeah, I'm super excited to see what other opportunities are going to be on the horizon. And if you're listening to this and you're ready to get started with streaming or fan clubs or anything else, I'm here for you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Goddess Lilith, dude, just for sharing your story and your strategies and like also the reminder that this kind of stuff is possible. Like we can build businesses. It's so powerful.
Yes, it's amazing. It's an amazing time to be in the business right now.
Absolutely. Awesome. As we wrap up, guys, for those of you still listening, if this lit something up in you, don't just like sit with it, move with it. Head over to our YouTube channel at SWCEO. YouTube channel, so /SWCEO. If you haven't subscribed, you should be. And over there, you're going to see us breaking down business strategies. We have weekly courses, mindset shifts, and like our short form content. And also, we share a lot of insights with guests on our podcast, like the ones we did today, that will help you just lead and grow and build your business on your own terms. So finally, before you go, just remember this: go be bad and build a business. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
It would be absolutely incredible if you rated this podcast 5 stars and left a little review. We want to get this podcast to as many adult creators as possible, and you taking a second to leave a couple stars and a review really helps us do that. Thanks so much.